There is a man you probably know, late 30s, maybe 40, not broke, not falling apart. But he watches men he went to school with post about their companies, their titles, their next house, and something tightens in his chest. Not jealousy exactly, something quieter. Something like, what did they figure out that I didn't? He doesn't say that out loud. He drives home, does what needs to be done, and puts that feeling somewhere he never revisits. But one thought keeps coming back. I'm not behind. I'm just not finished yet. That thought is more accurate than he's been giving it credit for. And science agrees. Psychologists who study how men develop over time found something consistent. Most men don't hit their highest sense of purpose in their 20s. They hit it in their 40s and 50s, but those early years don't look like preparation. They look like confusion. And that's the part nobody talks about. Are you in the middle of this right now, watching others arrive while you're still building? Tell me where you are below. Some men cannot build on a foundation they don't believe in. This isn't fear of success. It isn't a psychological block. It's something more structural. When these men try to step into an identity that doesn't fit, something in them refuses, not loudly, not dramatically, just an inability to commit their whole weight to something that feels false. So they hesitate. They try things and stop. They take jobs that look reasonable and leave them for reasons they can't fully explain. Carl Jung had a name for this. He believed that pushing certain men into an identity too early didn't produce success. It produced a fracture. A life that looked right from the outside, but quietly fell apart from the inside. The men you see at 50, devastated by everything they built and don't want. That is what happens when you force the shape. The men who came slower paid a different price earlier, but they paid it for something real. Here is what those years actually are. While other men were learning how to win, these men were learning the mechanics underneath winning. They sat with failure longer than most people can tolerate. They stayed in discomfort when everything in them wanted to escape. They didn't perform optimism they didn't feel. That gap between what you sense you are and what you've actually built is one of the loneliest places a man can live. Almost impossible to explain to anyone who hasn't been there. But that gap isn't emptiness, it's pressure, and pressure over enough time changes the material. Have you ever felt capable of something but unable to execute it yet? Describe that feeling in one word below. Men in the middle of this delay often go quiet, not because nothing is happening, because everything is internal, and they don't know how to explain what isn't finished yet. The people around them read this as passivity, as giving up, as a man who couldn't handle things that reading is almost always wrong. There's only one thing that can kill a late emergence. Not the delay, not the failure, not the years that looked like nothing. The story a man tells himself about those years. Some men reach 60 still measuring themselves against a timeline that was never theirs, still carrying the weight of every year that didn't look like enough. And some men reach that same age and say for the first time that they finally feel like themselves. The difference between those two men is not talent. It is not luck. It is the story they decided to tell about what the delay was actually for. The men who arrive quietly without fanfare, they make one move with the past. They stop carrying it as evidence of what's wrong with them and start reading it as a record of how they were built, every failed path that cleared the ground, every year of endurance that stress tested the foundation, every job that didn't fit, proof that a compass was working even when it was inconvenient. That is not optimism, that is accuracy. Because from the outside, there is no difference between a man who wasted a decade and a man who spent a decade building something no one could see yet. The only difference is what the man himself knows about what happened during those years. So if you are in the middle of this right now, still watching others arrive, still trying to find the shape of your life, the years that look like nothing are not nothing. They are expensive. They are lonely in a way that doesn't translate well into conversation. There is no shortcut through them, but the man who comes out the other side, who didn't fake his way through it, is built on ground that will actually hold. The question is never whether you're behind. The question is whether you're building something real or something that will feel hollow the moment you arrive. Most men never find out the difference. You already know what it cost you to ask.